In this video, I'm going to explain every Beast Titan in the history of Attack on Titan. Out of all the 9 Titan shifters that exist, I say this one has the most variety when it comes to the designs of each user, as they all have their own unique animal characteristics. In the opening for season 2 of the anime, we saw a bunch of creatures including bulls, elephants, and a freaking T-Rex, and at the very least, some of those animals were previous Beast Titans. It's still not explained what determines which animal you get, but based on Zeke, I say you either get your favorite animal or an animal that represents who you are. For example, if Jean had this shifter, then he'd be the Horse Titan for sure, and if Sasha had it, she'd probably be the Deer Titan or a Cow Titan, or just maybe a Giant Lobster. For the Beast Titans that we properly know in this series, I'll be explaining the backstory of the user in addition to what makes their Titan unique. For the other Beast Titans, I'll be commenting on their designs, but bear in mind that there will be spoilers ahead as it's necessary to explain the things I just mentioned. As usual, I'd appreciate if you hit the sub button as we are on that long road to 250k, and let me know down below which Titan you think I should do next. Okay, so the first Beast Titan on this list is Tom Cassava, who was an Eldian researcher and a member of the Malian warrior unit. Unlike most warriors, Tom wasn't really a fighter, and he didn't aspire to become a Titan shifter until much later in life. The first time we saw this character was during a flashback to Zeke Yeager's childhood, in which Grisha bumped into Tom on his way to see the airship. From their brief interaction, it was clear that Tom already knew who Grisha was, and this scene occurred 12 years before he became the Beast Titan. At some point during the following years, Tom would remove his Eldian armband and leave Liberia, where he would then get into a relationship with a Malian woman. He hid the fact that he was an Eldian from his new girlfriend, with the two of them eventually getting married and having a son together. Things didn't last forever though, as while their son was still a toddler, Tom's wife somehow found out that he was an Eldian, which had terrible consequences for everyone involved. Realizing that both her husband and her child were subjects of Ymir, Cassava's wife killed their son before turning the weapon on herself. Tom was the one who found their lifeless bodies, and the situation deeply traumatized him for the rest of his life. With his family gone, Tom returned to the internment zone in Liberia, where he applied to become a warrior candidate. In his words, he wanted to be a warrior so he could end his life in the grandest way possible, because as we know, Titan shifters cannot live longer than 13 years after they get the power due to the curse of Ymir. When he was selected as the Beast Titan, Cassava's main job as a researcher was to help Marley better understand the power of the Titans. Tom spent his years searching through the memories of previous Beast Titans in order to learn more about their history, and in turn he would then report that information back to Marley. Through his research, he discovered many interesting facts about the Titans, but there was one secret about the founding Titan that he mostly kept to himself. For the sake of not giving away unnecessary spoilers, I won't mention what the secret is or who he told it to or why he did that, but when the relevant episode comes out then I will be doing a breakdown. In the manga, it was revealed that Cassava had the Sheep Beast Titan, and it had an interesting design to say the least. Its most notable feature were the gigantic curved horns on its head, which would have been useful for ramming into enemies if necessary. The Titan had sheep's wool covering its head and the upper part of its torso, while the rest of its body had bare skin like the regular pure Titans. You might imagine that a Sheep Beast Titan would walk on all fours, and while that is true for some of the Beast Titans, Cassava's one did walk on 2 legs. One thing to note about this particular character is that Tom claimed his Titan wasn't really useful in war. However, when he said this, I think he was more talking about himself as a person. Clearly with the right user, the Sheep Beast Titan could have been a massive force on the battlefield. But as I said, Tom himself was a scientist and a researcher, so that's the reason why he said what he said. The next person on this list is Zeke Yeager, who inherited the Beast Titan from Cassava in the year 842. He was the son of Zeke Yeager and Dinah Fritz, who were both prominent Eldian restorationists, and Zeke's mother in particular was one of the last remaining Eldians with royal blood. At the time of Zeke's birth, the goal of the restorationists was to somehow reclaim the founding Titan from Paradise Island, and then use its power to rebuild the Eldian Empire. They didn't know exactly how they were going to accomplish that, but a few years later, Marley announced its own plans to invade Paradise and acquire the founding Titan. Grisha saw this news as an amazing opportunity for Zeke to fulfill their goals, as by making him a Malian warrior, he could infiltrate the island and steal the founding Titan. Zeke felt an intense pressure from his parents to become a warrior, but his heart was never really in it. His parents were solely focused on Eldian restoration, whereas Zeke was just a kid who wanted to be a kid, and he wished that his parents would spend more quality time with him. He was shown to be jealous of the playful relationship that other sons would have with their fathers, and every night Grisha and Dinah would leave Zeke at his grandparents' house while they attended their restorationist meetings. Any spare time Zeke had was usually spent studying the true history of Eldia with his father, but as we've established, this isn't something he was motivated to do. This lack of motivation effectively got him demoted from the warrior program, as Commander Magath didn't think that Zeke had the necessary passion to fight for Marley. Instead of training with the other kids, he was forced to do odd jobs like mopping up the floor, but on one fateful occasion he happened to run into Cassava. Tom liked to play with a baseball in his free time, and Zeke just luckily walked by at the right moment. The two got talking and eventually became friends, with Zeke playing catch with him quite frequently from that point onwards. Meanwhile, the Restorationists were growing increasingly frustrated that Zeke showed no signs of becoming a warrior, and Grisha eventually lost faith that his son could actually do it. This was a heartbreaking moment, but Zeke realized that it was for the best, as despite his failure, he could still live a full life inside of Liberia. That situation quickly changed though, as one day he overheard Malian officers talking about how they were close to pinning down the Eldian Restorationists. Zeke knew that if that happened, he and his entire family would be sent to Paradise Island, where they would be turned into pure Titans. He subtly tried to warn his parents to stop doing what they were doing, but he totally failed, and at that point he accepted that they were going to be caught. Cassava noticed there was something wrong with Zeke, and the boy proceeded to tell him the whole truth because, he had nothing left to lose. Zeke promised that he'd still remember the fun times they had, even after he becomes a pure Titan, but Tom thought of a way that they could avoid that fate. He suggested to Zeke that he turn his parents into the authorities because it would not only prove his loyalty to Marley, but it would also save his grandparents in the process. It's important to mention that Zeke did not want to give up his parents, but as their conversation continued, Tom was able to convince the boy that it was the right thing to do. I doubt past Tom thought he would be one day convincing Grisha's son to snitch on him, but life can be pretty crazy sometimes. During the years after his parents were sent to Paradise Island, Zeke began to regard Cassava as his true father. Unlike Grisha, Cassava made time to have fun with Zeke and actually viewed him as a person rather than a tool that could be used to free the Eldian people. By the time Tom was able to have a successor, Zeke had matured into a trustworthy and reliable warrior candidate, who was then selected to inherit the Beast Titan. He also inherited Tom's iconic glasses, which is something Zeke has worn ever since we first saw him. In terms of design, his Beast Titan was most reminiscent of a monkey, which is not surprising when we consider this moment. This scene right here was the beginning of the end for Zeke's childhood, as from that moment forward he would basically dedicate all his time to becoming a warrior. The last time he truly got to be a child was in this scene before his parents approached him about being a warrior, so I feel like it's only natural that that's what he became. At 17 meters tall, Zeke is the second tallest Titan shifter, only being beaten out by the Colossus Titan, and his disproportionately long arms allowed for amazing throwing strength. Given that Zeke had been honing his pitching skills for years with Cassava, this Beast Titan could not have been more perfect. As an Eldian with royal blood, Zeke's Beast Titan also displayed special abilities that would normally be reserved for the founding Titan. For starters, he can turn people into Titans with a scream, so long as they've consumed his spinal fluid in some way. No Titan shifter besides the founder has ever been able to do that, but the madness didn't stop there, as Zeke could tell these Titans what to do and have them obey his orders. Everything considered, Zeke was the best Beast Titan that Marley ever had, until he travelled to Paradise and betrayed them, but what can you do? Next up, we're going to be looking at most of the notable Beast Titans throughout history. However, bear in mind that some of the images on screen are from the final arc of Attack on Titan, so if you don't want to know major spoilers, then I suggest you pause the video now. The first ancient Titan we should talk about is the Minotaur Beast Titan, whose design is identical to that of the mythical creature. In Greek mythology, the Minotaur is a creature that eats humans and has the body of a man and the head of a bull. And when we look in the Attack on Titan universe, it's literally the exact same thing, just about 15 meters taller. Like Zeke's Beast Titan, it has fur around its head and neck area, as well as its legs, but most of its torso is totally bare. It also has a cool pair of horns on its head, although I feel like Cassava's Titan was better suited for ramming into people. Moving on, we have the Snake Beast Titan, which is one of the few Titans we know of that is a reptile. It has scaly skin across its entire body, and although its design is inspired by a snake, it still has a regular shaped torso like most Titans. We didn't see the lower half of its body, so in theory, it could have the lower half that's like a snake and has, no legs. And you know what? To support that, it was hanging upside down the first time we saw it. Maybe its snaky lower half was wrapped around something, but anyway, in its mouth it has a forked tongue which is just like snakes in real life, and its neck is capable of extending. The Deer Beast Titan is next, and this is the first one on this list that actually walks on all fours. As you can see, this thing is genuinely just a massive deer and has no human-like features whatsoever. In all likelihood, this is probably a good thing, as by being on all fours it allows the deer to gather more momentum before smashing into enemies with its antlers. The antlers can be hardened if necessary, and unlike most Beast Titans, it seems to have fur covering its entire body from head to toe. Possibly the most hilarious Titan in this video was the Bunny Titan, because this thing had a buff body with broad shoulders and muscles, only to have a cute little rabbit head on top. There was also a Beast Titan that more closely resembled an ape than what Zeke's was, that had proportionately sized arms and ape-like features on its face. Thanks to Falco, we know that in history there was a Flying Beast Titan, but we don't know exactly what creature it was. For all we know, the Flying Beast Titan could have been a pterodactyl or a seagull, we just have no idea at this point. What we do know is that Falco's Jaw Titan is technically half Beast Titan, so consider this an honourable mention. In chapter 137, we got introduced to the Dog Beast Titan for the first time, which walks on all fours much like the Deer Titan. The Dog Titan has flappy ears and a skinny body, but I personally don't know what breed this is. Like, I'm not really a dog person, even though I do have one dog, but I don't really know the breeds too well. So someone in the comments, please do let me know, what type of dog is this? Now, the next part of this video was difficult because there are a bunch of Titans out there that may or may not be Beast Titans. For example, in one of my other videos, I said that this Titan here was a Jaw Titan, and I had people in the comments agreeing with me, people disagreeing saying it was a Cart Titan, and even more people saying it was a Beast Titan. So the point is that there's a debate to be had as to whether certain Titans are actually Beast Titans or not. In my opinion, there are loads of Titans out there with animal features that don't happen to be Beast Titans, as there might be other factors that cause that we don't know about, with Falco being one example. For that reason, I'll be saving many of the Titans that look like this for a future Cart Titan video, but in the meantime, I figured I should mention the underwater Beast Titans. During the opening for Season 2 of Attack on Titan, we saw at least 3 different whales, as well as at least one other creature that lives in the ocean. A Beast Titan that could consistently stay underwater would change naval warfare, as most shifters are only good for combat on land. If Marley ever had a whale titan in the last 100 years, then enemy nations would have been totally scared to use their battleships, as the whale titan could annihilate them at any second. As I make this video, there are only 2 chapters left to go in Attack on Titan, so I'm not confident of a whale titan ever being seen, but it would be something cool to explore if there was a spin-off series about Marley, or perhaps the Great Titan War. Let me know down below what was your favourite Beast Titan design, and be sure to drop a like as it does help out the video. Until the next one, peace out.